but I'm going to do a little intro here.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to introduce our next speaker. I've admired Mary's work for a very long time, and she is originally from New York and moved to San Francisco in 1998 and then moved to Marin in 2007. Mary is a psychotherapist and nutritionist, but her passion is photography, and she considers herself somewhere between a hobbyist and a professional photographer. She just recently built out a van and hopes to continue her love of travel photography while living the van life. And I know you're all going to enjoy this presentation because I saw some sneak peeks today. Welcome to Mary. And I'm going to be her slideshow maven. So I'm going to let her speak for a moment and then I'll share the screen.
So yeah, just wanted to say hi and welcome to everyone as well. And I'm glad you're all here and I'm honored to be speaking tonight. Stephanie, thank you so much for asking me to be part of this. And yeah, so the theme tonight, as you all know, is nostalgia, or I think you all know. And yeah, that whole vintage vibe really is a huge theme in my work. And I really love finding old rusty cars and just like things that are falling apart. And, you know, and then also anything that has that nostalgia vibe to it just really, really takes my heart. So yeah, we're going to do, so the way tonight is going to work, we're going to do a slideshow, and then I'm going to go back and read a story and that goes with the photos. And Stephanie's going to click through those photos as I read. And then I'm going to read a poem about Cuba. And then I'm going to talk about a few other photos. And then I'm going to open it up to questions. So how does that sound?
Good.
You can do a thumbs up. Okay, great. Great. All right. So why don't we start the slideshow?
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds. Because you're mine, I walk the line. I find it very, very easy to be true. I find myself alone when each day's through. Yes, I'll admit that I'm a fool for you. Because you're mine, I walk the line. As sure as night is dark and day is light, I keep you on my mind both day and night. And happiness I've known proves that it's right. Because you're mine, I walk the line. You've got a way to keep me on your side. You give me
que tú lo bailes, pa' que tú lo goces, son Maracaibo, para que tú lo bailes, son Maracaibo, para que tú lo goces, son Maracaibo, que tú lo bailes, son Maracaibo, que tú lo goces, son Maracaibo. Pongan atención, señores, Maracaibo, esta linda inspiración, Maracaibo. Pongan atención, señores, Maracaibo, a esta linda inspiración, Maracaibo. Me sale del corazón, Maracaibo, se la doy con mil amores, Maracaibo, para que tú lo bailes, son Maracaibo, para que lo goces, son Maracaibo, que tú lo bailes, mamá Maracaibo, que tú lo goces, son Maracaibo, que tú lo bailes.
All the leaves are brown, and the sky is gray, I've been for a walk on a winter's day. I'd be safe and warm if I was in LA. California dreaming on such a winter's day.
Stopped into a church, I passed along the way. Well, I got down on my knees and I pretend to pray. You know the preacher like the cold, he knows I'm gonna stay.
California dreaming on such a winter's day.
ضغطيني ري ورد اللينا من ضغطيني ري ورد اللينا من ورد اللين ونان ورد اللين شكان ورد اللين ونان ورد اللين مقلان ضغطيني ري ورد اللينا من ضغطيني ري ورد اللينا من ورد اللين ونان ورد اللين شكان ورد اللين ونان ورد اللين مقلان
Isn't it strange how princesses and kings in clown-headed capers in sawdust ring? Just like common people like you and me will be villains for eternity. Each is given a bag of tools, a shapeless mask, and a book of rules. And each must make their lives as flowing, tumbling black or a stepping
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes are longing to stray right through the very heart of it. New York, New York. I want to wake up in a city that doesn't sleep and find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap. These little town blues.
As I was walking round Grosvenor Square, not a chill to the winter, but a dip to the air. From the other direction, she was calling my eye. It could be an illusion, but I might as well try. Might as well try. She had rings on her fingers and bells on her shoes, and I knew without asking she was into the blues. She wore scarlet begonias tucked into her curls. I knew right away she was not like other girls, other girls. In the thick of the evening when the dealer got rough,
Hmm. Hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I like the image, especially the first three palm trees. Hello?
Yes.
Oh, the first three palm trees, how you make them look antique.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And the it looked like it was snowing. You took people through, was it a windshield or a window with water droplets on it?
Yes, that was actually a fountain. That was in Washington Square Park in New York City, and it was taken through a fountain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I love your crispy transitions, your edits that just seem very clean.
Thank you.
I like your composition.
Oh, thank you.
I like the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun putting the music to the photos.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
well,
I found it the opposite, maybe because I'm a musician, but I had to figure out a way to turn down the sound because I couldn't do both
Oh, it was distracting you?
very much.
Oh,
But
interesting.
but this is the first time I've actually figured out how to turn the sound down on an iPad. So,
Right. So,
But-
right. So for you, it was just better to see the slides without the music.
yeah, I just can't split those two things up. But some of the I've photographed a lot of the places that you did, and I was like, wait a minute, I did that one. It's
Oh,
just-
cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I don't know. There's someone here from Petaluma, but there was one that there was a Pinky's Pizza photo that was, I grouped that into New York, even though that's in Petaluma. But it just went with the theme of New York with the pizza and the neon. And so,
Yeah, but I also have a car thing and a Cuba thing, so it was really nice. I think
Awesome.
I did that one too.
oh, cool.
Yeah, but thank
I'd
you.
love to see yours. It's fun. It'd be fun to kind of see people who've done the same kind of themes. See other people's.
I think you produced that very well. It moved right along and the transitions were great. And I like the sound myself. I'm always
trying to find a way to spice my presentations up, and you think you did a good job matching the theme to the music. So
Thank you.
and
I
I
did
enjoyed
pick
it.
the songs, or most of them. I think Stephanie picked one, the California Dreamin'.
Oh,
But I have to thank Stephanie because she's the one that put that together.
you just
and
put this together just recently. Great. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm impressed. I like the shot of Don's Market with the car in front. That's where I used to live, near there. So that's old territory
Okay.
for me. So it's good to see it. Thanks for the presentation. Enjoyed it.
She's not done yet.
Oh,
I'm not done yet. So I'm gonna
good.
read I'm gonna read a piece
Yes.
and then I'm gonna read a poem. And then I can talk a little bit more or take more questions.
Great.
We'll figure that out, I guess, as we go. But
Perfect.
okay. So this piece is called Nostalgia at its Finest. It's mid-autumn and the rains are falling in New Mexico along Route 66. As I look up, on one side of the sky, all I see are clouds huddled together tightly. Instantly, the sun pops out from the charcoal gray backdrop, and the late afternoon light shines directly on this old car graveyard, creating a dramatic sky and setting the stage for the perfect photo op. I am awestruck by the amount of cars and trucks that are lined up, rusty relics from the past, potent reminders of a bygone time, an adventure down memory lane, transporting me back to the golden era of car travel along the Mother Road. A time when shiny chromed-rimmed Bel Airs and Impalas cruised by, evoking the dream of freedom. But now these tattered automobiles are in shambles, shattered glass everywhere. The material that once was the inside stuffing of a back seat is now musty and covered in black mold, while the coiled springs pop out for all the world to see. Peeling paint and patina decadence that happens when metal gets exposed to the elements shines brilliantly in the sun, creating a mesmerizing texture that only gets more beautiful and varied with time. This is not trash. This is art begging to be captured. Further down the road in Tucumcari, the old mixes with the new. Some of it refurbished and some left in perfect decay, untouched for decades. Famous hotels such as the Blue Swallow are lit with fluorescent neon signs with classic 1950 beauties parked out front. In this example, the mid-20th century style architecture is kept alive, hosting guests of all ages fascinated with this bygone era. Down the road, the diner Kicks on 66 still exists, and waitresses serve you steaming hot food on thick plates in old school booths and on chrome stools. The eggs, grits, and coffee are certainly on the menu, as is classic New Mexico green chili stew. But my favorite part of this Route 66 experience, the leftover gas stations, abandoned shells of what they once were, but still chock full of personality and life. Remember the iconic mobile trademark, Happy Motoring? It takes me back to my childhood in the 1970s, when my dad scooped me out of our old station wagon and walked in the gas station and grabbed a paper map from the man who rocked back in the leather chair, feet up on the metal desk, cigarette in hand. The smoke smell mixed with the strong scent of motor oil and created a thick plume in the shadowy light that now makes me wish my dad photographed these moments. It was a time when the attendant pumped your gas, cleaned your windows, and even checked your oil level. On your way out, you might have put a few cents in the Coca-Cola machine for a Coke, picked up a pack of Lucky Strikes from the cigarette machine, and snatched a Charleston Chew from the candy machine, then hopped back on the road for more adventure, window rolled down, tunes blasting from the radio, a full tank of gas, and the wind blowing in your hair. Ah, the good old days. Reminiscing from this evocative age. Nostalgia at its finest. So this photo that you see right here, my dad actually took this photo, and it's my mom is in the background and my brother is the little blonde kid in front. I wasn't born yet. It was about 1971. And I wanted to honor my dad. He's on this presentation tonight, and he's my inspiration for getting into photography because he would take lots and lots and lots of photos when I was young, and we would have endless slideshows from our trips and just from day-to-day life. So thank you, Dad, for being my inspiration. And yeah, so if we move on to the next slide. So, okay, so this goes back to Route 66, which I just read about. So, yeah, that recent trip to Route 66 and that whole area of the Southwest, it was one of my first van trips in my built-up van, and I was just captivated by, like, I read empty shells of gas stations like this one, and just all the abandoned stuff. It was just really, really neat. Who else, maybe raise your hand, who else is fascinated by abandoned places? Yeah, a lot of you. Yeah, cool. So maybe what I'm gonna do now is
Oh, I wanted to ask you about the poem. It was a great
Oh, yeah.
poem.
Go for it.
Was it your poem? Did you write it, or did someone else write it? Or
I wrote that. Yep, I just wrote that. That's mine.
it was a great poem. I liked it.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
If you've been on Route 66 like I have several times, your poem is actually more appropriate than the music. The music was good too, but the poem is exactly what you feel and see. You're going down those roads and seeing all that abandoned stuff. I've been there many times, and every time I go there, I find something new that I hadn't seen before. So,
What do you have a favorite part of Route 66?
not really. I've done it all the way through Arizona. Some of the really deep back roads, that cut through. So, and all the way to New Mexico. So there's a lot of interesting things, and there's a lot of it's just nothing but a dusty, broken up old tarmac that's not a road anymore. So
there's a stretch of Route 66 by my husband's family farm back in Illinois, and we've been up and down many places there, and we meet the most interesting people going. Once we met a senior citizens group on like motor scooters from Norway or someplace like that, Norway, and they were going all through seeing America's, going through America's living room there on Route 66.
Yep. Yeah.
An exciting thing on 66 are the Burma shave signs.
Oh, right.
Oh, sorry, the what signs?
The Burma shave signs.
Oh, Burma shave, huh? Very cool.
But they'd have a whole series of.
You got to slow down though, because they were made to be read at like 35, 45 miles an hour.
Right.
Not at 55 miles an hour, 60. They were spaced and everything and off the side of the road, just so you could read them at that era.
So what I'm going to do now is just read one more thing while we go through the Cuba photos, and then I'll open it up for more questions. This actually, I have to talk about this photo that Stephanie has up. So this was at the Taos Pueblo. And my middle name is Louise, and it says it's an old stove with corn cobs on it. And I was really fascinated. It was, I don't know if any of you have been into the Pueblo there, but the Native Americans who live there, some of them have little shops that they open up and they sell their crafts. And when I walked into this shop, Joseph was his name, the shop owner. And I just went right to that stove and was kind of fascinated by it. But yeah, when I was there many years ago, I went into one of the shops, and it was a woman who I had asked about, and she had just recently died, and she made fry bread, which is their one of their typical foods. And she was showing me a photo of some postcards of her when she was younger as a model, and she would pose in these beautiful Native American, the clothes and the jewelry. And yeah, it was amazing to meet her, and then to ask other of the Pueblo dwellers, and to hear that she had just unfortunately recently passed, but lived a good long life. All right, so what I'm going to do now is read one more thing about Cuba, because I think it just goes well.
Is this starting in it?
Yes, exactly. So this one is called The Beauty of Havana. And this was written in 2016. And it's just a part of a much longer poem. But so some of the photos, and I've been to Cuba 4 times. So this is a spread of photos from the first time I went is 2001. And that was when I printed photos. We all printed photos back then. And so before digital, and then, so obviously none of those are on here, but yeah, it's from starting at 2016 and going forward. So every cliche is potently alive, carried through the air, dusty, thick, and primal, placed back in time. Buildings once ornate, now in decay, trembling, hanging on for dear life. The cries in the streets, the hustlers, wrought iron balconies with distant views of old plazas, diesel-fueled sunlight, strong shadows, and lives lost. But these resilient souls survive, doing everything they can to make it, carrying on through the music, gathering together deep in conversation. The inner and outer beauty of the women and men walking the streets, domino playing rum-buzzed laughter. Utter madness whizzes by on these frenetic streets. Old noisy trucks that almost don't fit. Asthmatic 1950s American cars belching streams of black exhaust. The relics, old souls, bubblegum pink Bel Airs, shiny red Cadillacs, reminiscent of the days when cocaine snorting, mojito drinking, cigar smoking, wealthy North American suited customers from long ago sat on their seats, a woman by their side. En route to the casinos, the days when a mafia-induced drunken, sultry Tropicana night lasted well into dawn. The forgotten days that have left their legacy. But the cars with deep soul are the ones that are bruised, unpolished, shaken, and not stirred. The ones fixed over and over and over again on a whim with random parts. Everything is reused. Nothing is wasted. The invisible becomes visible. So that's Cuba. There's also, I have obviously you all saw on the slideshow, San Francisco and a Fairfax cluster, which that's right in Fairfax. Can anyone pick out where that is?
Yeah, that's Don's Market
Don's
down there
Market.
on
Yeah, in Larkspur.
No,
the
it's in
Fairfax,
Fairfax.
right on the
Yeah,
border.
Grand Boulevard.
So
Yeah.
I felt very lucky one day when I saw this Bel Air. I, of course, like stopped short, pulled over, got, I think a lot of these. So I do take a lot with my cell phone. Some of these are with my real camera, but most of these are with a cell phone. And I do all my editing on apps. I don't do any on Photoshop or Lightroom. It's too complicated. So I do want to take a class. So that's next step. But yeah. So, and Stephanie, you can scroll through a little more. Thank you. And so yeah, and then there's this whole section, the next section, which is New York and amusement parks and
I like those ginkgo leaves on black.
That's in San Anselmo, actually. There's a lot of beautiful old sewers in San Anselmo like that. I guess they're sewers. That's what I'm assuming they are. Or drains, I guess drains on the street. That's in China Camp Village. I know some people were talking about taking a field trip there, and that's an amazing place to take photos of vintage stuff.
We actually went there already, haven't we, Donald?
Oh, okay.
Did
Yeah.
we?
No, I didn't.
We went near there. We went to Loch Lomond.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, we went to China Camp.
Yeah,
we
we
stopped
did.
at China Camp, did we?
We went to Loch Lomond and then China Camp.
Yeah,
The
that's right.
next
That's right.
image, Stephanie, that you just clicked on, the truck. That's up in Valley Ford, which is north of Marin on the way out to like Dillon Beach, that area. And I always, whenever I go by there now, and you can stop right there, Stephanie, because I want to talk about this one too, but I always look for that truck and it's not there anymore. But this, there's a bus graveyard, which would be it's far, but it would be a great field trip. It's up in Willows, I think, which is about 3 hours from here. And I was driving to Shasta with a friend of mine, and I saw this bus graveyard on the side of the road, and I was like, oh my God, we have to go there. And we went on the way back because he was not wanting to pull over on the way up. But yeah, it's really, really, really cool. And then the next image, Stephanie, is also from there.
I like that. That's great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about both the app that you use for editing and your decisions when to go with color and when to go with black and white?
Oh, those are good questions. So I use a bunch of apps. I probably have about 12 or 13 on my phone. There's one I really, really like called Snapseed. Does anyone use Snapseed?
How do you spell it?
Snap, like SNAP, and Seed, SEED.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great one because you can do so many things, and I like it. It's my favorite. Like even if you just want to bump the saturation up or turn it into black and white or add a border. They have great borders, like some of the borders that look vintage that I use with the kind of they're rounded, and then they have at the, on the edges, they're straight. So like if it's a white border, in the photo part, it will be rounded, but then it'll be straight square on the edges. Stephanie, you can keep scrolling through. That's also at the bus graveyard. So then this next section is Morocco. I
Excuse me, can you just say what that app was again? Snap app?
Snapseed.
What?
Snapseed.
Snap, as in snappy.
Yep. Snap, S-N-A-P, seed, S-E-E-D, one word.
And it's
So,
free.
and to answer your question about whether to go with color or black and white, that's a really good question. I don't know. I think it's just intuitive. I think I just feel out what, I don't know what might look good in black and white. Like, yeah, sometimes, yeah, just getting that either that vintage feel, or if it's an image that just to me has stark contrasts, that always to me begs to be done in black and white. And sometimes it's fun to do both, to see what they look like in both. I used to, years and years ago, when I first got on the apps, I used to make like 15 edits of one photo. I don't do that anymore, but it took a lot of time. Yeah, Stephanie, you can keep going. So,
Maybe I'll do a few at a time because I always look. Can you all see that, or are they too
oh, that's
small?
great. Yeah, I love that.
Maybe I
I
can
love
make these a little bigger for you all.
So I was in Morocco during Ramadan, and at sunset, or when as soon as it was getting dark, a lot of people would run home to get home to their meal because they haven't eaten all day. So this woman with the child, that's an example of that moment where it's, you know, I lightened up the photo, but it was getting dark, and the little boy and the mom are running home, and she has, you know, a tray of food, and you would see people just at you know, right before dusk or right at dusk running home, and then the streets were totally empty. So and it was like basically only tourists were out at that time. And there weren't a lot of tourists there during Ramadan. So, but I don't know if I'd recommend going there during Ramadan, because it's really hard to eat when they're not able to. I felt a lot of guilt around that. So, yeah. Yeah, so this is an amalgam. That was an amalgam of different photos from Morocco. So the palms, yeah, I have a whole series of palms. I just picked a few for this, but a lot of these were taken in Hawaii. I think actually every single one of these that are here were taken in Hawaii. And yeah, I really adore palm trees and palm fronds. It's just fun.
Do you like me doing 4 at a time?
Sure. So now we're getting into amusement parks, and one of my favorite spots to photograph. It'd be fun if we ever did a field trip to New York. Coney Island is a great, great place to take photos. Has anyone ever taken photos in Coney Island?
I would love to.
Yeah. And then there's also Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk on the bottom there, the swings photo. Yep, that one. And if you keep scrolling up, that's Santa Cruz as well. And then these bottom two are in New York, right near where I grew up, a place called Playland, which was in the movie Big. I don't know if any of you remember the movie Big, but they're starting to redo it, but it was built, and Dad, maybe you can answer this if you want to take yourself off mute. If you know when it was built, was it the 1920s? I don't know. But yeah.
Which borough?
I think it was in 1920 somewhere it started, but they've rebuilt it several times or many times since.
Yes.
And it's still current and it's still going.
Yes. Yep.
Which borough?
It's in Westchester County. It's called Rye Playland.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Oh, really? Oh, great. So this photo of Grand Central was before, it was before the pandemic. It was obviously there was a lot of people in there, and that's just like a normal moment in Grand Central. But yeah, beautiful. Every time I go, I still look up at the ceiling. Yeah, so these are all New York, and so much nostalgia in New York and so much vintage. The Chrysler Building.
Where in New York are you from?
From Westchester County, which is just north of Manhattan.
Okay.
So some of these, the barber shop image, that was actually taken in a town called Rosendale, New York, which is up in, Dad, help me out here, not the Catskills, but it's like Hudson Valley. I guess it's Hudson Valley. Yeah, it was just a sweet moment to see that. And this was in Manhattan. There's a lot of just so many vintage buildings there that just beg to be captured.
Is that Greenwich Village?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah.
It's either Soho or Greenwich Village, but yeah.
Greenwich, I think.
That's upstate New York. That was in the town where I went to college, in a town called Saratoga Springs.
Smith?
So, yeah, Skidmore. I did go to
Skidmore.
Smith. I went to Smith for graduate school, though.
Okay.
So this is actually in Petaluma, this shot, Pinky's Pizza. Just, yeah. And these are all, this is actually New England. This is in Northampton, Massachusetts, where Smith is. But yeah, I love the old diners and old signs. That's back in Manhattan. So yeah, and then I have a whole series of water and beaches, and that's at Ocean Beach. This one is in Florida, in Miami Beach. Has anyone been to Miami Beach? They have those really cool lifeguard stations where each one is very different. That would be a fun series to do.
On South Beach.
Yep, in South Beach. So the one before, the last one, the surfer, that was taken in Montauk, New York, which is at the very, very tip of Long Island. That's a very nostalgic place for me. That was taken in Hawaii. That's my friend. And then this one on the right was taken in Santa Cruz, just north of Santa Cruz on the beach there. I'm forgetting the name of the beach, but those beaches are just gorgeous up along the coast from here to Santa Cruz is amazing. This was taken at Chicken Ranch Beach out in Point Reyes, or going towards Point Reyes. And that was on the Yuba River in Nevada City.
That's cool.
And then the desert images were taken this last fall. And when I picked up my van was just recently built out in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona. It was 114 degrees when I picked it up. And I didn't stay in it on those hot nights because it was too hot to sleep in, but I really fell in love with the desert and the saguaro cactus. Incredible, just incredible beings. They're like beings. I just adore them. And I love making them look vintage in the tintype and these kind of vintage colors.
Wow, where's that? Oh, Sedona.
That's Sedona, yep.
Is there a particular app that you use for making things look vintage? Like,
Yes, I'm gonna actually look through on my phone right now. I'm gonna find the app that I use for that. I think. So, okay, so there's a couple. So there's one called Distressed Effects.
Yeah.
And so see how it kind of gives it that, like, if you go back one, so yeah, at the top, that kind of like misty kind of galaxy-like feeling. That app will do that really well. And then you can also adjust the tones to make it look vintage. That's Distressed Effect. There's also one that I love. It's called Stackables. And it looks like that. And that's a good one. I'll talk about one more. Yeah, here's another one that I do like that has this was the last photo I worked on, and it's kind of like a mirror image, which I don't think I did it in that app, but it's palm trees and water. But that it's called Be Funky. Yeah, and so the trick with these apps is you got to get the paid version. Usually they're not very expensive. They're often like $1.99 or $2.99. Maybe they're more now. When I downloaded them years ago, they were pretty cheap, but they might be up to $5 or $6 each, which to me is worth it. Because if you get the free version, they'll put their trademark on the bottom, which you don't want on your photos. So, and I should do this again, but maybe I can organize it through the club. I can also do a tutorial. I do charge for those, but I used to do photo classes where I used to teach the tutorial of the apps. So maybe Stephanie, you and I can talk about that, and I can do that through the club.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's the famous Georgia O'Keeffe church. She painted that in just outside of Taos, and I took a bunch of different angles on that one, but yeah, I loved seeing feeling her vibe when I was there.
That was our last image.
Great.
So now might be a great time to share. Let's see, I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to share again. And it might be a good time to show you our photo challenge for the month that Mary helped me come up with. Bear with me here. I'm managing a lot of different screens today. What am I looking for? I am going to go out of here again and share. There we go. So this is our photo challenge based on Mary's amazing presentation. So I'll let you make the challenge, or say the challenge, Mary.
Yeah, so basically going along with the theme of tonight, just something that evokes nostalgia in you, or has a vintage vibe, or just captures your attention. Yeah, I can't wait to see what comes up. So yeah, that will be the photo challenge for the rest of this month. And does that go all the way through to the next time?
Yes.
Okay, so until mid.
The whole month. So you can come peek at how you inspired everybody.
Yeah, great.
I'll post this tomorrow. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you all. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. It was really
And my
fun.
middle name's Louise too.
Oh, sweet.
I have a question. On the Cuba photograph, it was called Cuba Blue, and it had two doors. What was that building?
Oh gosh, the thing about those buildings, and I have one, I didn't include it in this, but the doors are massive. And I guess that just is a sign of wealth, or, you know, just showing the ornateness of the time. Yeah, I don't know. It might have been abandoned inside. A lot of the shells of the buildings in Cuba are just facades, and then you walk back and it's completely just destroyed because, you know, if there was an earthquake or whatever's happened, that they can't, it hasn't been sustained. But I know before the pandemic, they were doing a lot of rebuilding. And when I was there most recently, I think it was 2018, I was last there. It was totally different from 2016. 2016, it was just really still in disarray, but they were really working hard to keep all the beautiful buildings and redo them. But it was a lot of work and it was very slow. They don't have machines there. They do everything by hand. So, yeah, and they were like churning the cement in these little tiny things right in front of the buildings. So it was probably going to take years. And then the pandemic hit, unfortunately, and everything went backwards there. So it's been very sad situation there.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Mary,
I-
where's your
did you-
next trip? Oh, sorry, Mallory, sorry.
I just
Go ahead,
want to, no, that's okay. It's fine. I whatever you wanted to say is good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Mary, where's your next photo trip?
So my next photo trip probably will be a van trip in the spring. I think back out to the Southwest. I haven't, yeah, thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
So yeah, I didn't, in this last trip, I didn't get to Southern Utah. So I'm feeling focused on that area.
Did you go to Cuba with a group or by yourself, or how'd
I
you
went
get
by
in?
myself. Against
So
my
there was no problem getting in.
Say it again, sorry.
There was no problem to get in at that. Was it a Obama time or?
So I first went in the Clinton era in 2001. And it was tricky. I flew through the Bahamas actually. And it was very like, there was a little liquor kiosk in the Bahamian airport, and they kind of like handed me the ticket. It was like a paper ticket. But and I didn't get my passport stamped. But really they weren't, you know, when I passed through customs on the way back, they didn't ask anything. So they just, yeah, they didn't even assume. But nowadays you just fill out a form and you check a box, and there's no issue.
That's
Yeah, it's since the pandemic, it might be a little different, but I think they're reopening it. I think they want tourists to come because they need the money.
Yeah, we just put money in the passport.
Yeah, there you go. Any other questions?
Can you tell the difference? I couldn't, but can you from my side? But can you tell the difference from when you're shooting with a phone or a camera or digital?
Totally.
You can?
Yeah. You know, I think there's shots. I don't think I did too many of them, but like, for example, when I was in the Sahara in Morocco, having, you know, a zoom lens versus a phone, like there's no question. I mean, there's some things a phone works totally fine for, especially with the new wide angle, the iPhones where you can get a wide angle. But there's other things that you really like a camera. I mean, you all know, just like the crispness and the clarity. And if you want to blur the background out, I mean, you kind of can do that with a phone now too. But yeah, I mean, a phone is great to just, if you just want to carry nothing, but yeah, certainly makes a difference.
What kind of camera do you use?
I use a Sony mirrorless. I was telling Stephanie the other day, I wouldn't recommend it though. I think I would go back to old school DSLR, because I think when they take away the mirror, yes, it saves a little bit of space, but it also you can get that because the mirror's not there, the dust and debris can get on your sensors so much more easily. So I've had to get my sensor cleaned many times. Yeah, and I love deserts. So if I'm in a sandy, windy place, yeah, Stephanie said she had to get her camera cleaned too, but I think it's just, yeah. So, but it is nice to have a smaller camera body. I have to say that too. I used to shoot with a Nikon, my DSLR, but
The best way to use a mirrorless is don't change lenses.
exactly. And I like to
I have the same problems. I mean, it's a real headache.
Yeah.
If the camera is turned on, it will pull things into the mirror.
Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't
So
know
you
that.
want to make sure if you change lens, keep it away from everything, turn the camera off so the static doesn't pull it in.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, I do that, but
Anyway, once it's on there, it's hard to get off. I mean, it's just, I mean, I've cleaned them myself, but you can get them so messy that you have to hire it out.
After
So-
Burning Man, I had extensive Photoshop touching up. It was a big pain in the butt, and I raced over to the camera store and they bailed me out and cleaned it out really quick. But boy, the dust just is death to your camera.
Yeah.
But when did they? I was somewhere traveling when somebody said this is the new camera. How long ago was that? The mirrorless one.
mirrorless. I bought mine maybe I had a first the one of the first ones, the Sony Alpha, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, maybe a little longer. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think I was in Cuba then, and somebody had one, and
But they have an advantage. They do shoot faster. You know, because you're not pulling a mirror up, you know, and so there's some advantages. I have both. I mean, so it's right now I've got two mirrorless, I've got the Sony and a Canon. So
Oh, wow.
and they're both good cameras. The Mark IV and the R5.
Terry, didn't you hear that Nikon was going to not produce DSLRs anymore?
I've heard that.
Yeah, so
Mirrorless, huh?
yeah.
I'm hanging on to mine. I've got about 4 or 5 of them.
Oh boy. Well, there you go.
did you say Canon is not going to? Or not-
Well, they're all going to discontinue regular
Yep.
cameras. They're going to mirrorless. They all are.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. I did not know that, huh?
Yeah, most of the lenses being produced by all the major manufacturers now are just basically
Huh.
mirrorless. That's the future.
It's funny because I have some of my lenses are so heavy, so it just kind of defeats the purpose.
It's true.
You know, that's true about the weight of a lens can really be a factor. I had a nice 150 to 600 and I sold it because it's just too heavy, too awkward. And I wish I hadn't sold it, but it's gone.
You know, Donald, a lot of those photos I took of the butterflies, I was using the new 100-500 Canon, which is lighter than my 100-400
No.
and a much sharper lens. So, and that was the new RF. So they made them. I don't know that it's significantly lighter. I still prefer to use it on a monopod.
Yeah,
In the daylight.
Yeah.
You know, I would not consider it handheld.
No.
And maybe it's just because I'm old and got bad shoulders. But
The monopod works out great.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, I hope everybody can come next month, and you're welcome to come too, Mary. I hope you come.
Thank you. I'd love to come.
What do we have next month?
Next month we have a gentleman that does large scale landscapes. So these things are like printed like huge, and they're sharp as a tack. I have never seen one in person, but I've been told, and he's a wonderful guy. And he also runs a a weather service for photographers. So if, you know, instead of wondering what the sky is going to look like, or if there's any clouds, he can tell you.
Is he local?
He is local. He lives in, where does he live? Somewhere in Marin County. I'm not sure where.
He was at our show.
What was that?
He was at the show. At our,
He came, that's right. He came on Sunday.
that's right. I talked to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. I really
You're
want
welcome.
Yeah.
Look for your video online tomorrow. Donald's gonna
Yeah.
make
I'll
a
get it on.
fancy version just for you. Do we want to put the whole meeting on that and then maybe make a version for Mary? With
I'll
just
just,
her part of
we'll
it?
start with her presentation and yeah, I'll edit it down to that.
Thank you,
I
Don.
really appreciated your presentation, Mary. That was
Oh,
excellent, excellent.
thank you
Yes,
so
me
much.
too.
I like the nostalgic stuff. I can't wait to start adding stuff this month.
Hmm.
Some of my
Yeah,
favorite.
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So are there any field trips coming up this month? Or that's to be decided?
Not this month.
Yeah, we have a,
Okay.
Let's
We
see,
have a-
check out the poll. Check out the poll and we'll
Yeah.
see what we can pull off.
yeah.
Well, nice to meet you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Oh, that was Ava giving.